How are you sleeping these days?
So it's funny. We've got 2 boys. One is 2, and the other just turned 1.
I was about to say that your little guy just never remind me his name again.
Haddon, named after Charles Haddon Spurgeon.
My man. Mm-hmm. Your husband Madison and I are on the same wavelength.
Oh yeah.
That was very kind of you. Haddon is a cool name.
It is.
If it was something
sweet.
super weird,
sweet.
if you wanted to name him Spurgey, that probably wouldn't be.
Spurgey.
New nickname.
Like a dog.
Haddon.
A dog.
That is a dog name.
So we actually last week decided to put them in the same room.
Oh wow, go for it, man. Shoot
Why
your shot.
not?
Yeah.
So last week was rough. This week has been better. Last week Hudson learned how to climb on top of his dresser.
But that's such a boy thing. I mean, my girls did stuff like that too, but my son,
But my husband tells the story. He actually used it as a sermon illustration last week where he walks in to get the boys and Hudson is on top of the dresser.
Fantastic. I'm seeing wrestling moves.
And
I'm
Hudson,
seeing dropping the elbow.
He said just the sheer look on his face like
I'm busted.
Oh. And he's 2, but he knew
I shouldn't be doing
this. This is bad. And he just hopped right back into his bed like, you didn't see that.
It's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I do. Yeah, so on the dresser's not bad, but if he starts jumping onto Haddon, that's the problem.
Which I think is what the goal was. We just caught
him before. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Haddon probably wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah, probably not.
So the reason we are talking about sleep, rest, family, kids, is because we're here to talk about how to do youth ministry when you are exhausted.
Completely
worn
exhausted,
out.
Which is a common
Yeah, I was about
thing.
to say, you can't relate to that at all, can you? Yeah, youth ministry is relaxing, plenty of days
Yeah,
off,
it's great.
easy peasy. So for those of y'all who don't know Angela is leads out our events here, does an incredible job getting people signed up for Generate and any live event that we do. That's right.
Yeah.
And has been in youth ministry for years and years and years. But she and her husband are on staff at a wonderful church in Gardendale, which is a little community north of here. Mm-hmm. So she's doing ministry as a day job, doing ministry nights and weekends, and has 2 young kids. If anybody's an expert on doing ministry while exhausted, it's Angela Terry. So, but we are going to talk about it because I do think, I know, it's something that's real, right? Like
Absolutely.
As youth workers, especially those of you who are bivocational, right? Who are working part-time jobs or full-time jobs and then doing youth ministry on the side. That is incredibly exhausting work.
Yes.
And so we want to talk about how to maybe thrive, or how to survive is not the right word, right? We want to thrive in it, though sometimes it probably does feel like survival.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think the first thing we said was just to simply kind of acknowledge it, right?
Yep.
Just to kind of say, hey, this is a thing we all deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I said this in a joking way to my sister the other day, but the first step is acknowledging reality. Let's vocalize this. I'm tired. Let's communicate this to our staff or team or whatever. I am completely exhausted. And just saying that can maybe even just ease a little tension
I agree, 100%.
in your head.
So many of us, and I think about, my weaknesses and my strengths. And one of my weaknesses is that I hate to seem ill-prepared. And I feel like we're kind of wired the same way. A lot of our team is. Like, you don't want to you don't have it together.
Sure.
You hate to be in front of people and be like, hey guys, I dropped the ball. And so sometimes we try to hide that exhaustion.
And just being in ministry, you're leading a lot of people. Yes, you're leading students. You're probably leading parents.
Yep, that's
you're probably leading some sort of leadership team, whether that's made up of students or college students or whatever. Yeah. So you got a lot of people that are looking to you to really model their life after.
That's right.
And so to stand in front of them and say, hey, I am spent, that can actually help.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's a great point. And I think another thing about once we just kind of get it out in the open is, and you've probably seen this happen, I know I have, when you're open about that, and, and in a way that's not complaining, you're not being like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, it's like, guys, I'm worn out, right? It's been a rough 2 weeks or whatever. Kids aren't sleeping, like blah, blah, blah. What happens? People are like, hey, can I help? Like, do you have something? And that's a great moment. Like, that's what we want, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we're exhausted because we're not delegating like we should. And that moment of transparency can oftentimes, people will be like, hey, let me take something off your plate. And then it's a win because you create buy-in and you help yourself.
Yeah, it's a humbling thing, honestly.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Sometimes it's just about getting your pride out of the way and just saying, hey, I need help.
Yeah, and like, you read business books, and I know this is ministry, but there's sometimes crossover. We can take business practices to how we lead teams, but sleeps for the week, right? And like you read that mantra, and sometimes you just want to go, no, like I'm a human being. I need to rest. I need a little help. But you're right, it is humbling. You had a great point when we were just kind of talking through how to process this, that it helps for you and Madison.
Yeah.
Why don't you share that? Because I think that was a great one.
Yeah, one of the things, and we're not pros by any means, but in many ways I feel like we're just getting started in ministry. But one of the things that we have realized over the years is we need outlets. We need something to do, even if it's as simple as a hobby that you would do in your own home, some kind of craft or something, where you need an outlet that is not related to church or not related to you having some sort of responsibility to lead. So my husband, I was saying, he has all kinds of interests that he kind of just cycles through, whether it's mountain biking or
adventure racing.
Adventure racing. Right now it's golfing, and so he's very
habits,
much. I told him we probably need to put a budget on the golf.
I love it.
But right now it's golf, and sometimes he'll just go golf by himself, and it's just a couple of hours where he doesn't have to answer any phone calls, and it's just a mental break. And I know I really have learned that I've got to have some time in the afternoon after work where I don't have my phone near me, don't have my phone on my hip. It's going to be okay.
We survived without phones. There was a time when we weren't always available, right? And we made it.
And just have some moments to just have a hobby or some sort of outlet where you are not thinking about church.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm involved in a lot of men's ministry stuff, and one of the things I tell men, I think this parallels, is to try to minimize the amount of hobbies in your life that are singular, right? Like that only involve you. One of the things I see in a lot of men is they don't just cycle through one hobby. They golf, they fish, they work out, and it's like, wait a minute, how much time are you spending? So I would say, I think it's vital as we're talking about exhaustion to have hobbies that maybe you are on your own for a little bit, but also look for hobbies that you can incorporate your family. Your kids are young, but for my kids are older, it's real easy for me to be like, hey, let's go. My kids and I work out together, which is cool now that they're teenagers.
Absolutely.
But it's things like that where you can combine.
I remember camping as a kid. My dad was also a minister.
Yeah, that's
right. We'd go camping and hiking all the time. And that's free, by the way, if you go to certain places.
That's right. I'll say this real quickly because I think it was meaningful to me, and we were talking about this kind of pre-recording. Annie F. Downs, y'all know Annie. She's a wonderful writer and speaker. I heard her say something that was so profound, and it stuck with me. She said, if you work with your mind, Sabbath with your hands. If you work with your hands, Sabbath with your mind. For me, that was just like, oh, wow. Like my work is, we work with a publishing team and speaking and preaching. It's like, I'm going to make sure I Sabbath with my hands. And that's made a big, I kind of do that naturally, but like that just affirmation was really big for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of what I do here at YM360 is behind a computer.
So get out from, get out from behind it.
For me, you know, let me go take a walk with my dog. You know, just even things like that.
It's huge.
I mean, it could be really helpful.
We were talking, one of the things, I was telling Angela a few years ago, I preached to the life of Elijah, and I didn't realize until I preached through it that so much of what Elijah was dealing with was exhaustion. You know, we know the story of Elijah where he has this great moment, a mountaintop experience on Mount Carmel where he, you know, has the altar consumed by fire, and he drives out the prophets of Baal and Ahab and Jezebel are there, and it's like this big victory, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that was 3 years of working up to that. It was a really hard 3 years. Remember, there's a drought, all that good stuff. Do you remember what happened? Elijah has that moment. Jezebel makes like this comment to him, like, hey, I'm going to basically kill you. And he like falls apart. He flees to the wilderness. It kind of culminates that moment with Elijah in the cave. And something really profound happens. Because what God was telling Elijah was, hey, like, I know you're exhausted, but I'm not done with you. Like, your ministry, you thought your ministry was only this big thing, right? This thing you've been working on for a long time. I never told you that. Like, and so part of that, I think there's a little bit of like tough love message in here for us as ministers that we don't quit when it's hard. We quit when we're done. And a lot of times God looks at us as like, hey, I know you're tired. I've got you right where I want you. You know, I've ordained you. I've ordered your steps to this place. And just like you said to Elijah, you're not by yourself. You got other people with you, but you got to get back on the horse here. And so I think there's that word to us that in our exhaustion, we have to ask ourselves, you know, am I where God calls me to be? If the answer is yes, then we got to figure out ways to recharge our batteries, to get back on the horse and jump back in there. And that's a good word, but we wanted to make sure we finished with another word before we wrap things up. And that was basically just to make sure, like, know when to get help, right?
Exactly. You have to. I mean, yes, we need to continue on, and ministry is hard. Let's acknowledge that. But I also think that it would be wise to pray for wisdom and guidance on knowing, are these clues that I need to seek out help?
Yeah.
Or are these clues that I need to make some changes in my life?
That's a great way to say it.
And to look at your relationships in your life. How is your relationship with your spouse or your family or, just other things, and gather up these clues to really just see, all right, and assess, what do I need to do, if anything?
So maybe I need to work on my boundaries. You know, maybe this is more than exhaustion.
Right.
And maybe this is some anxiety or some depression.
Sure.
Like, I need to take care of my mental health. And so there is a moment where you don't just need to tough it out, right? Acknowledge it and move through. Let's make sure we take care of ourselves. And that's a good word. But at the end of the day, it is a wonderful calling. I mean, it is. It is exhausting, right?
Yes.
It is. But I hate to say this because I don't want to glorify it, but if we're tired, it kind of means we're doing it right. You know what I mean?
That's the truth.
We're pouring ourselves. I mean, that's what Paul says, right? I've poured myself out, right?
Right.
I don't have anything left to give.
Yep.
And so I think that's just a good word. Thank you for joining us.
Of
We don't get to
course.
do this a lot,
I know.
but it's always
This is
great
fun.
when you get to step in here with us. So
thank you, Andy.
listen, if you are exhausted and you need help, and we can help you in any way where it comes to planning or helping you take care of a retreat or an event, please let us know. We'd love to help you with that. Know that we pray for you often, and we have a great team of people here who are ready to help you guys as you're doing the hard work of youth ministry in the trenches. So on behalf of Angela, I'm Andy. Great seeing you guys, and we'll see you soon.